You'll get frostbite.
There is no escape! I'm going in! Wait, hear me!
Disgusting.
Hey, what's up YouTube? And today I'll be going my Jean guide. Jean is an amazing healer which can also act as a DPS if built correctly. She is unique in that her heal is instantaneous, unlike other characters like Bennett and Diona. Her burst also deals tons of anemo damage which knocks enemies back. Jean is the perfect blend of damage and heals.
Working hard.
And with that, let's get on into the guide. My Jean is 90 out of 90. She has 82 crit rate, 180 crit damage, 22 healing bonus, 117 energy recharge, and 61% annual damage bonus. Her weapon is the Primordial Jade Cutter, level 90. Her artifacts are the Viridescent set and the Shimenawa Reminiscent set, and these are the artifacts I have on my Jean. I've been cucked on pity with Jean 3 times, and her talents are 8, 8, 9. Now that you have seen my Jean, let's get on into the guide. First, let's get into weapons for Jean. Currently, I'm using a 5-star sword, but the best 4-star options are either Festering Desire if you want more energy recharge, Prototype Rancor if you plan on going DPS, and the Favonius Sword if you also need more energy. Out of the two swords, Festering Desire and Favonius Sword, the Favonius Sword will give more energy recharge, but the Festering Desire will make you deal more damage on your ult. Her best in slot 5-star weapon is Primordial Jade Cutter. It just works so well with Jean's kit. Her heals scale based off attack percent, and Jade Cutter gives you attack percent based on your HP value. And Jean's base HP is just normally high. Next, let's get into Jean's artifacts. In my opinion, the best artifact set for Jean is a 2 Viridescent and 2 Shimenawa or Gladiator's Finale. Now, if you want your Jean to heal more, you could swap out the Gladiator 2-piece set, the 2-piece Maid's Beloved set. A 2-piece Viridescent and 2-piece Maid's Beloved are pretty easy to get because they're in the same domain. If you're not relying on your Jean to deal damage and instead enhance your DPS, a 4 Viridescent set would be the best option on Jean. The 4 Viridescent set increases your swirl damage by 60% and decreases the opponent's elemental resistance to the element infused by the swirl by 40%. I want to stress how good this set is on any Anemo support. This enhancing ability given to Anemo supports by this artifact set is what makes Anemo supports one of the best support elements in the game. All those sets are viable on Jean. If you want your Jean to deal more damage, then you can go a Gladiator Viridescent set. If you want your Jean to heal more, a Viridescent Maid's Beloved set. And if you want your Jean to act like a support for your elemental party, a 4-piece Viridescent set would be great. The reason I'm running a 2-piece 2-piece Viridescent set is because I can't abuse the 4-piece Viridescent set. My current party is a 2 Geo 2 Anemo, so I have no elements to swirl and lower resistances of enemies. If I had an elemental DPS that I could swirl elements with, like an Electro DPS, Pyro, Hydro, or Cryo DPS, I would use Jean's 4-piece Viridescent set that I have, but with the current party I'm running with her, a 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Viridescent suits my needs the best. Now let's get into the artifact stats on Jean. I see a lot of players stacking attack percent on Jean, like on her Goblet, on her Circlet, and on her Sands. In the early and mid game, attack percent does scale well on Jean, but once you get to later and harder content, you're going to start to notice that your damage falls off. That's when you're going to want to start to build crit rate or crit damage on your Circlet, and then elemental anemo damage bonus on your Goblet. When rolling for substats on Jean, the best substats for her are substats that you would put on your DPS, crit rate and crit damage, and then next I would go for attack percent because your healing does scale off attack percent, and then energy recharge. Next, let's get into Jean's Constellations. Gene C1 basically buffs her E, so it groups enemies faster and increases the damage as well. Gene C2 is pretty strong. When she picks up an elemental orb or particle, increases move speed and attack speed by 15% for 15 seconds. Her C4 is great if you have another Animo unit on your team. It decreases Animo resistance with her ult. Gene C6 makes you just take less damage inside of her ult, so it's kind of whatever. And with that out of the way, let's go into Gene's talents and skills. Gene's normal attack, Favonius Blade Ward, performs up to 5 consecutive strikes, and when you charge attack, consumes a certain amount of stamina, in which then will launch enemies into the air, and they will slowly fall back down to the ground. Her scaling is pretty high, so using her as a DPS is viable, and the most DPS comes from auto attacking and then charge attacking. Her second skill, Gale Blade, launches the enemy forward in the direction of your Gale Blade attack. Gale Blade is also one of the hardest hitting and highest damage scaling elemental skills in the game. If you hold Gene's E, it will group up surrounding enemies and hold them suspended in the air. Then you could launch those enemies into the sky and then let them take fall damage. Although Gene's E hold mechanic is nice and deals a lot of damage in addition to the extra fall damage, it's not always the most optimal. It does take a lot of time and cannot hold bigger mobs. For bigger mobs, I like to just press her E. It'll deal the same amount of burst damage, it takes less time, and you get the same amount of particles for it. For ultimate Dandelion Breeze, Gene releases a giant AoE, dealing Animo damage and knocking enemies back. She instantly heals all party members' HP based on her attack. She continuously regenerates HP inside the small AoE and imbues them with Animo. This removes all other elemental statuses on the active character. Gene's talent, Wind Companion. On hit, Gene's normal attacks have a 50% chance to regenerate HP equal to 15% of Gene's attack for all party members. Gene's next talent, Let the Wind Lead, using Dandelion Breeze, will regenerate 20% of its energy. Gene's final talent, Guiding Breeze, is a cooking talent. When you get a perfect cooking score on a dish with restorative effects, there is a 12% chance to double the effect. When upgrading talents, I would go ult, skill, and then normal attack. I take the ult first because that's the main part of Gene's kit as a healer. Then I would go with the elemental skill because it deals a whole lot of burst damage and generates a good amount of particles. And then her normal attack I would upgrade last because I would use that skill only if my DPS was off field and needed to recharge their ults and skills. And with that, let's get into some Gale Wind mechanics. When Gene launches the enemy into the air, they lose a percentage of their max HP as fall damage. You can do roughly the same amount of damage as your Gale Wind as fall damage if you launch the enemy into the sky. In this clip, I was able to deal 34k damage as a Gale Wind and 34k damage as fall damage. Gene's instant heals is what makes her such a unit. Sometimes when your character's at 1 HP, you don't want to ult with another character and then switch back on the field just to have them die. When Gene heals all party members for 17k HP, all of them are near max HP or close to max HP, and if needed can stand into the Dandelion Blossom AoE for the rest of the heals. Now let's get on to a little bit of a domain flex. Gene also makes claiming this domain a piece of cake.
Have a little taste.
Teamwork is dreamwork! There is no escape!
I got careless. Freeze. Leaving so soon.
Bye, have a great time.
Clank, Barbados! Guide us! The more, the merrier. Let's go!
I will have order.
For Jean's team comps, she's incredibly flexible. Jean's viability stems from being able to be like a 2-in-1 unit, where she can heal and support your team at the same time with the power of the Viridescent Banner set if you're running an elemental team party. A standard party for Jean does not revolve around her. She is the support and she's also the healer, and therefore not dealing much of the flashy damage. A standard party for Jean is any character that does not use anemo damage, geo damage, or physical damage as their main source of damage, because she can't proc the Viridescent set off those elements. But if you were to run a 2-piece Glad, 2-piece Viridescent, and more of a sub DPS than a support, then that would be viable. I'm just going to list off some viable DPSs so you guys can get an idea of what DPS Jean likes. So for elemental DPSs, you could either run Tartaglia, you could run Beidou if you want to build around her ulti, you could run Xiangling, or you can run Yanfei, you can also run Diluc, you can run Keqing, anyone who uses elemental damage. And that wraps it up for today's video. All in all, Jean is one of the best healers in the game. Her burst damage for her skill and ult is insane, and she is one of the few characters that can abuse the fall damage mechanic. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.